keying it in to convention as clearly and legally and straightforward as I could to try and not make any waves, just do something that they could relate to for a few years and get stable with the powers that be.
We lost this ability to dream an idea and do it the next day.
He lost the right to experiment and create new buildings and innovations on the buildings.
You've got to be able to make mistakes. Otherwise, you never evolve housing type. And so that's what the rest of the country is still stuck in the same housing that they were in World War II or World War I. It's the same exact housing. Everybody's so stressed about getting sued that they can't make a single mistake, so there's no evolution of design.
I had lost the freedom to fail. We're facing a future where we're really going to, on an individual basis, going to have to take care of ourselves. New Mexico's the state where they tested the atomic bomb. They designated several thousand acres of land to be just absolutely destroyed with something that they didn't even know whether or not it would keep on exploding or not. They took extreme risks in the interest of national security. So what I'm saying is, can't we make a few hundred-acre test sites with no holes barred to test methods of living for the future? It's a test site. They allow it for bombs. They test automobiles. They test airplanes. They should test housing. At this point, then, I began to realize that we needed a change in law and legislation to open the door for these kind of things to emerge. This time I wasn't going to fight the county. This time I was going to fight the state.
Sometimes to fight the system, you have to get into it, and be part of the system. Mike in a suit is hilarious.
I loved it when he put on a suit. Oh my God.
I think it's hilarious. I think it's great. I think he looks like a homeless car salesman or something.
It's fun to see him get up in there, though, It's like a thumb in the butt of, reality right there.
I'm not a screaming, flaming hippie trying to badmouth the existing system. I am a part of the system. I have become a Trojan horse. I have infiltrated the system. I am the system now. Okay, Senator. What was that horse shit you were just saying there? Don't be talking to me that way. I've crawled up their asshole, and I'm going to change them from the bloodstream. I was walking into an arena that I had no experience and no skills for. It's an extreme bill. It's an extreme thing to give citizens the right to step outside the law for 5 or 10 years. But outside the law is the place where the information lies. And I'm just saying, let us go get it.
Yeah, this building is a recipe for illness.
Have you got a list of senators you need to talk to this morning?
Yes.
I'm just going down the list.
No, let's
Except
see.
I'm not going to
Make sure you get to him
Martinez and Grubasek.
and see if you can talk to Lorraine.
Totally lobbying the shit out of the whole Judiciary Committee. Get them, try to talk to them, get them the flyers.
You really have to demonstrate to everybody that you're working within the system, that you're not coming from outside the system.
Basically, it's going to be called the Sustainable Development Testing Site Act.
Okay.
I had to tweak every aspect of my being just to be there. You know, play a game. It's like some kind of a board game, and the building is round, and you just run around in circles in this building, talking to one person, talking to another person, trying to get into this meeting, trying to get into that meeting. That's a sewage system in a living room. Not asking for money, just permission to test.
I understand. It's a regulatory issue.
Yeah. Every kind of a demon or troll or ambush you could possibly imagine was there waiting to devour you and your bill.
All it takes is one guy coming in here that you didn't talk to, who has a connection on this committee, that boogers your bill. One wrong word from the right person, and you never know how your bill died.
We take this technology all over the world, and in every country, the same problem exists. How do we permit this? This is too unusual. We're asking for what we call test sites. If a person gets an idea, the next morning they can be out there building that idea. It's like a gladiator or something. You have to go out there and fight off all of the people that are trying to ravage your bill for whatever political reason. Defending the legalities of the bill against a bank of lawyers who can double talk me up one side and down the other.
How independent is the word independent? It's independent of conventional grids and disposal systems.
What it got to was picking apart words and meanings.
On page 3, line 10, you use the term real people. How are unreal people defined?
There was a tremendous amount of restraint to keep me from splattering people and papers all over the walls of that fucking building. You know, there were many times when I wanted to just stand up, turn the desk over, and say, this is a load of horse shit.
I believe in the Constitution we don't call people real people. We call them something else. Randall, is there a term other than real people for real people? Is there a legal term?
I'll find one for you.
Okay, so in other words, what you also mean is
the things you say in your definitions. I just think that the bill was drafted very unusually, but
He's all over it, man. He doesn't want any of this flowery language.
Where's delete? How do I delete?
And then you're going to physically have to draw a line through it, your deletions.
It will not let me change it. In a dozen different committees with 7 or 8 people on each committee, and each one having a little bone to pick about it, we had to just shred the bill piece by piece by piece and deal with everybody's comments on it. Cannot be sold. Include real people. Provision for research. They were making destructive criticisms just to stop it because they just didn't understand the need for it. The bill drafter, Gary Carlson, was the one who had to piece that all back together. Me again.
1,000 more changes, right?
No, not 1,000, like 8. He just got tired of seeing it over and over and over again come back for redraft, 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 redraft. But they're minor. They're like one word. They're little crafty things. The whole attitude of the whole thing was we haven't even begun to think of the ideas, but nobody's going to unless they have a forum in which to do it.
What other ideas are out there that you you're thinking that would be viable that haven't been tried or tested?
They were just trying to get their brains around this bill, so I had to like pull answers out of my ass, really. Building a building out of water. Building a building out of contained water. There are other ideas out there. I don't know what the fuck they are, but they're out there, and we want this bill to allow us to find them. Everybody's got an agenda. And so when you talk about going through that many committees with that many people and all their different agendas and all the different politics involved, this process was laughable.
America has the safest, cleanest housing in the world. My concerns relate to really life safety and health issues.
I'm not sure how you can exempt them from some rules and regulations and then say at the same time they're not being violated.
And I wouldn't want to send a piece of legislation that has contradictions and
it's unclear, you know, I mean, again, it's just inconsistent language, and I find there's a lot of inconsistent language throughout this bill.
I have a substitute motion to table, which is not debatable.
Representative Cheney?
Yes.
Representative Ezell?
Yes.
Representative Foley?
Yes, ma'am.
Ridiculous amount of human energy mustered and wasted and pissed away to get a teeniest little thing done.
6 to 3, bill has been tabled.
Tabled with 4 days left in the session is a death sentence for the bill. We were out of time. The dream would have been to have an inside connection to this one committee of lawyers, Judiciary Committee. If we could get advice on how to get through that committee, we would have a chance.
Thank you.
It would make it easier for people to choose to develop sustainable methods. That's the crux of it.
How do we know that these aren't just a bunch of hippies getting together to set up some kind of commune and not really doing anything but just sort of, you know, talking the talk, not walking the walk? If this were to take off, then the utility companies are somewhat threatened by this because there are alternatives available to people, and they're no longer feeding into a system that obviously is pretty money hungry. So how do you answer that?
Actually, the utility, Kit Carson Electric up in Taos, likes me because I can get power to people that they can't, that they just don't have time to deal with and run the lines and everything. So right now, it's not a problem.
It takes vision. It does. My mom, when I was a little girl, she gave me this card, this tiny little cat that turned into a big line. She said, think big. You think big, and I appreciate that.
Thanks for the
and
help.
I'll see what I can do.
She's the first one who really tried to understand the bill.
If I can persuade her to write a good analysis of it, it's in. Isn't that true?
Yes, I know.
Okay. All right, so you're going to come back with me in an hour?
So, you know, this language here. Structures and systems that inherently produce utilities and life support systems for any. It's too woo-woo. We got to redraft it so that it sounds more credible, more legitimate, more in line with conventional thinking. It's a natural entity. Initiate, let's say that, benefit generations.
Okay. A quick update. I think it's 60-40 with Z.
Let's see how good she is.
He allows the right to experiment and create new buildings and innovations on the buildings.
You've got to be able to make mistakes. Otherwise, you never evolve housing type. And so that's what the rest of the country is still stuck in the same housing that they were in World War II or World War I. It's the same exact housing. Everybody's so stressed about getting sued that they can't make a single mistake, so there's no evolution of design.
For the future. It's a test site. They allow it for bombs. They test automobiles. They test airplanes. They should test housing.
At this point, then, I began to realize that we needed a change in law and legislation to open the door for these kind of things to emerge. The atomic bomb, they designated several thousand acres of land to be just absolutely destroyed with something that they didn't even know whether or not it would keep on exploding or not. They took extreme risks in the interest of national security.
So what I'm saying is, can't we make a few hundred-acre test sites with no holes barred to test methods of living?
I had lost the freedom to fail. We're facing a future where we're really going to, on an individual basis, going to have to take care of ourselves. New Mexico's the state where they tested the keying it in to convention as clearly and legally and straightforward as I could to try and not make any waves, just do something that they could relate to for a few years and get stable with the powers that be.
We lost this ability to dream an idea and do it the next day.